Hello and welcome into the Blueprint Podcast. We are high above the city of Birmingham. Got an incredible view. If you're watching this podcast, here with the man, Alexander Shunnarah. Good to see you.
How you doing, David?
I'm good.
Thank you.
I'm good. Love this space. Thanks for having us out here.
Thanks for coming in.
And now, throughout this podcast, we didn't really anticipate. Me and producer Ted, you're right here. So we got the city going on behind us, don't we?
It's beautiful. We've got Sloss as a background, and we've pretty much got an entire view of the city up here.
Yeah, this is a good spot to be. And I bet for you, man, you are a busy guy. You got a whole lot going on. I mean, does this kind of help you every now and then kind of get away? Because this space and hearing the trains, and you need someplace you can go to think, I bet.
Well, this is what we call corporate headquarters.
Right.
And my office is actually up here on the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that there are some times where it does come in handy where
Right.
I can decompress.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to get my thoughts back together.
Yeah, you are a fascinating study in just so many attorneys kind of watch what you do, and because of the incredible business that you built, you've really built an empire here, and the way you've done it. But for the entrepreneurs that are listening, you really are an incredible. You and your family are an incredible American dream story, so that's why I wanted to have you on. You're more than just an attorney. You are a heck of an entrepreneur. So help us understand your family growing up, your childhood, and how this marketing entrepreneur who is an attorney, how did Alex Shunnarah happen?
Well, I get asked the story a lot, but I grew up here. I was born and raised in Birmingham. My parents are Americans, but they were born overseas. They were born in Israel, which used to be Palestine, but now it's Israel.
Right.
My father came over. He's actually a veteran. He joined the Navy when he was 17 years old. And when he got out of the Navy, he went home, married my mom, brought her back, started this family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the oldest of 4 children. I got 3 younger sisters.
Right.
And we were born and raised on South Side. Of course, I stayed here. I went to John Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
High school. Right. Went on to Sanford University, graduated from UAB, went to Birmingham School of Law. So I've just kind of been in Alabama my entire life.
Right.
Got a merchant background.
Okay.
My father wasn't an educated man, very successful, but just hard work. I've told the story, worked in the flea markets with him a lot.
Right.
He pretty much worked all his life, saved his money, lived within his means,
Mm-hmm.
just taught me some basic principles that we all really know, but
Right.
a lot of people don't abide by them.
Yeah.
And then he kind of got into investing and opening up a little grocery store, and I guess the rest is history.
Right.
Which provided the path and the way. Shout out to my dad who gave us the dream, as you would talk about, that myself and my 3 sisters were all college graduates,
Right.
first in the family.
Yeah.
And it's a good story.
When did you start working with your dad? Like, what are your earliest memories of working with him and helping him?
I've always been with my dad, so it wasn't a question. I'd say 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
we'd get up, and he'd say, "Hey, son, we're going to the flea market today."
Right.
And I remember, all I had to do was really get ready, and we'd go to the flea markets in Bessemer, or Moody,
Mm-hmm.
or Mulga, or a lot of times during the summertime when I didn't have school, we'd actually go out of town. And it's really a lot of that's before the Walmart days,
Right.
or maybe Walmart wasn't as prominent.
Mm-hmm.
But we would sell whatever we could sell.
Right.
Meaning, if it was watches, bedspreads, garments,
Right.
pillows,
Yeah. Whatever.
blankets.
Yeah. Wherever the market was.
Yeah, it was kind of like and there's thousands of those type of stores now.
Yeah.
But it's just the way a lot of people made a living back in the day. So you got good with customers.
Right. Yeah.
You got comfortable.
What came real easy for you even then? Was it the dealing with the people and interacting with customers and a people person kind of deal?
Well, I think you at the time, when you're young, you don't know, but I
Right.
think you're just forced. If you want to make a purchase or if you want to make a sale, and you're 11 or 12 years old, and whatever vernacular skills you have, or whatever type of salesmanship that you have. I mean, you're trying to convince someone that this is a real nice pillow and they can sleep well at night, but we just want $5 for the pillow.
Right. Yeah.
And so you kind of just you adapt, or you adapt to those type of things.
Now, and before you went into started your legal career, you and your dad had some ventures, right? I heard you had like a delicatessen. What else did you do before?
Yeah, we had. We've kind of ventured in a lot of different things,
right.
Because once again, when you're just trying to make a living, we've had. My dad had a package store. He's had many grocery stores. We had the traditional 7-Elevens.
Right.
We had these, I call them car stereo shops, where you kind of dress the cars, where you tint the windows and dress up the cars. We've been in the food business.
Yeah.
We had an Italian restaurant.
So you guys tried some stuff.
So we've tried a lot of different things.
So when did you decide, was the plan all along for you to go to law school and become an attorney?
Well, I had a seat in 1992. I was going to go to Cumberland Law School, and at that time I decided, I went up to speak to the registrar, and I remember, and she was like, they had a policy back then, and I don't know if the policy's still in effect. They were like, well, you can't work at all your freshman year or your first year of law school. And my dad had about 7 or 8 businesses, and I was kind of the main guy running them.
Right.
I was only like 22 or 23. And so I said, no, I'll just stay and help my dad. But then after about a year or two, I got the fever. And, my dad said, well, why don't you go to night law school? I heard Birmingham School of Law is a good school. And the famous David Cromwell Johnson had graduated from it, Mike Rogers, and a few of these other, Lanny Vines.
Right.
And he's, my dad's very optimistic. He's like, if they can make it, you can make it, And so we looked into it, and of course, the plan all along was to stay and work in Alabama anyway.
Right.
And so it kind of fit what I needed.
Yeah. And so you went to law school, you hung your shingle. Well, you actually worked for someone else first, right?
So what the plan was, I graduated. I have a cousin of mine. He's a good lawyer here in Birmingham, and so I went to work for his law firm for about 5 years.
Right.
I call it my apprenticeship.
Sure.
And at the same time kind of stayed really helping my dad. So kind of juggling this law career 8 to 5.
Right.
And in the evening times trying to help my father. And then eventually in 2001, I opened up my own law firm. And actually yesterday, August 1st, was our 16th birthday here.
Get out.
Sweet 16.
You've done a lot in 16 years, Alex.
It's been great.
Yeah. All right. So initially was your plan just to kind of follow the traditional way that attorneys kind of interact? Because and I don't know if it was right then, but there was a time where being on every billboard, being advertised on television and radio, that was not really, that was kind of frowned upon in the legal community. Was it when you started, like in 2001, or had that begun to change?
Well, I tell people, if you historically look at advertising, it's still in the lawyer world a recent phenomenon. I mean, there was a case, Arizona versus Bates, that happened in about 1977 that under the free speech, it allowed attorneys to advertise.
Okay.
So if you kind of center it back in on Alabama around 1980, you had a couple of guys come in like Dan Goldberg and the Norris brothers, and they kind of were the first guys in Alabama that advertised. They're both good friends of mine. They're still in business. They think they still advertise. I still see them around. But when I entered the market, so it's about 20 years after the law had been passed, and I just made a conscious decision that I wanted to advertise.
Okay.
I didn't really have the funds to advertise at that time, but I did honestly in my heart of hearts know that if I wanted to reach people, there's an old saying, they can't hire you unless they know you.
Right.
And so that was the mindset. And so we went, there's an old saying, inch by inch is a cinch, a yard is hard. And we've just kind of really done it inch by inch.
Right. Yeah.
Time is your best friend in any business venture.
Do you remember like the first ad? Did you start with television advertising, radio advertising, or the billboard? What came first?
I actually started with actually the Yellow Book.
Okay. Yeah.
Does anybody remember them?
Sure.
But
some of our listeners may. Yeah.
I do remember buying like $100 ad in a phone book, and I think it was with Bell South at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And the phone rang a little bit, so that kind of started me. And then a couple years later, I kind of ventured into what I call television ads.
Right.
But at that time, I could only afford the midnight ads, is what we call them, the overnight ads.
Right. Yeah.
And so I remember actually the first ad we did was called Ask Alex.
Right.
And it was the TV station came in and actually was kind enough to shoot the ad for free for us. And we actually shot it in my office with just a few of my employees. And I've lost track of that ad. I wish I could find it because
So that was the first one, huh?
Yeah, it was
Was the reaction immediate?
No. The advertising part is just kind of built on itself slowly.
Right.
But it did honestly, get some attention. You know, I mean, you go to church or, you see a friend and they'll say, "Yeah, I was up the other night real late and I saw your ad."
Right. Yeah.
You don't, something like that. But nothing, no Chick-fil-A ads or anything.
So what is your marketing? What's your marketing belief? Your marketing strategy? What is your thinking there? I mean, is it just to saturate? Is that your plan, or?
Well, I'll just say, what I'll say is that I think in 2017, my beliefs are today that I think every year that goes by, regardless of what industry you're in, that things are just getting more and more competitive.
Right.
And that unless you differentiate yourself from someone, unless you try to stand out, unless you try to brand yourself, market yourself, I think you're going to have a difficult time penetrating any market presence. I understand it takes resources.
Right.
And so for the listeners here, the young entrepreneurs, I mean, you have to start somewhere. So, and you need to, make calculated risk and be strategic about it. But you have to start somewhere. And if you're not going to do any kind of marketing or any kind of branding or any type of public relations, I mean, you got to at least get out and shake as many hands as you can, and use social media to your advantage. And social media has changed the game.
It has, yeah.
Because it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And pretty much most people are running their business now on social media. For free.
Do you consider yourself? Which fits better? Are you an entrepreneur who practices law? Or are you a lawyer who enjoys the entrepreneurial side of the practice?
Well, to answer that honestly, I'm an entrepreneur who practices law. I think the entrepreneur part in me just comes natural, where the lawyering part is not as natural. I feel like I'm a very good lawyer. The law is... It's a wonderful profession, I mean, the law is the law. If you read the law, you study the law, you interpret the law, you apply the law is there. But entrepreneurship is a little bit more adventuresome. I mean, you take more chances. You obviously are risking money.
Yeah.
And so, I really enjoy the entrepreneurship part of it. And I think that comes from just my background.
Yeah. Hey, David Lamb here. We'll get right back to the podcast. But first of all, a thanks to you for listening and being a part of this community. It means a lot. We love what we're doing, and thank you for joining us in it. Because of you, you're making it happen. And there are a couple of ways you can help us, if you don't mind me asking. First of all, if you would subscribe if you listen on iTunes, as well as leave a review. That's a great way to grow the podcast on that platform. Also, our Facebook community. Just Blueprint Pod is where you'll find us there on Facebook. We release the podcast and the video from it on Monday. We have the bullet points on Wednesdays, 5-question Friday. That we do that every Friday, so a great resource. And we're building a community of folks just like you, entrepreneurs, folks with big dreams, folks that are looking for help in achieving the life of their dreams. So join us there. That's how you can help grow and help us reach more people. The more people we can reach, the more people we can help. It's a win for everybody. All right, let's head back to the podcast. Are you, do you hear, there's a lot of talk about you. A lot of people talk about you. I guess you're aware of that, right? I mean, you know, because there's some video I saw of Jurassic Park. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, I've seen the video.
Right.
It's a pretty good video.
And maybe we'll put it up. But I mean, there's just tons
But
of
I saw it
stuff
the
like
same
that.
time everybody else saw it.
Did you?
Yeah, somebody just forwarded it to me.
Yeah, and there's so many. There's a game that whenever you travel to the beach, have you heard about this game? You know, where
Like
if you
honk
see a
if you see
sign,
Alex
yeah,
or something?
honk or yeah. So there's so much talk about you. There's in the legal community. I have a brother who's a lawyer and a tons of lawyers. So I'm not super dialed into that community, but there's a lot of talk about Alexander Shunnarah, what you guys are doing, how you guys are doing it. I mean, like any business, you're kind of you're the top dog. All the chatter about you, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm really comfortable with it. I mean, I understand that based on the fact that, once I made a decision to purchase as many billboards as I did,
right.
Really get into the outdoor advertising game.
Mm-hmm.
Between the television, between the radio stations, between the billboards, we've become a known entity.
Right.
I mean, people know Alexander Shunnarah. They know we're a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
Our message is pretty clear. We would like to represent you.
Right.
We provide legal services. But I'm really comfortable in it because I'm really comfortable in who I am and I'm comfortable in my skin. I understand what comes with that. I understand that, when you market as much as we market, there's going to be some negative perception.
Right.
But I think for every person that says something maybe possibly negative about us, I think there's twice as many people saying positive things about us.
Do you have a thick skin?
I do.
Do you? Yeah. So that
Doesn't bother me.
doesn't. Yeah. Because there's a whole lot out there. I've got a bag. You're the receptionist.
Sure.
You showed me a room that is just Alex Shunnarah swag. I did not even get everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you've got. There's a tag. Let's see. We've got Alex Shunnarah hot sauce.
It's good. It's good. You ought to try it.
It's good. I mean,
It's great.
Are you a connoisseur of hot sauce?
Well, I mean, I live in the South, so hot sauce is great.
Right. You got all kinds of koozies. There's a bandana. Not even sure what that is. This is hand sanitizer. I mean, you've got Alex. There's a lot of stuff here. All right. Do you ever say no to marketing ideas?
Well, listen, that is what we call guerrilla marketing.
Right. Yeah.
And our clients love the swag, and so what we do is, when a client hires the law firm, I mean, we send them a nice swag pack with a nice letter and thanking them for hiring our firm, and just our way of
what is this?
Allowing them to appreciate, who
that's
we
an
are.
Alex Shunnarah mint. You need a mint?
No, I'm good.
You all right? So all that is just kind of wild to me. The whole that whole marketing aspect of it. So all right. So you mentioned the book Guerrilla Marketing. You didn't mention a book. Guerrilla marketing is a phrase, but came from a Jay Levinson book.
Which I've read a few of those books.
Have you? I mean, what books, leaders, business leaders? Who's kind of, even nationally, internationally. It doesn't have to just be here, but folks who have you kind of keep an eye on and who have impacted you.
Right now, I like the guys who are aggressive, who take chances. Like I'm obviously a big fan of Jeffrey Bezos, who owns Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a guy who's just changed the entire world.
Yeah.
Elon Musk with Tesla.
Yeah.
The Facebook.
Yeah. Zuckerberg.
I mean, anyone who's just willing to look at an opportunity, look futuristically, and just go for it.
Do you swing and miss every now and then?
Yeah, I've got this old phrase, lose a few battles, win the war.
Right.
And so, yes, we swing and miss all the time because unless you take chances, you're not going to be very successful.
Right.
But you do want to be very smart about your chances. You want to take calculated risks. You want to go with your gut, your instinct. We live in the South, so coaches all the time, get second guessed on their decisions.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing in business. You need a game plan. You need to execute your game plan, and you want to give yourself the best opportunity to be successful. But sometimes you got to throw the ball deep.
Right.
And sometimes you've got to, do a trick play like Bobby Bowden used to do.
Right. Yeah.
The fumblerooski or something.
Fumblerooski, yeah.
And or it's just going to be, 3 downs and out and you're going to punt every day.
Right.
So
what would you say is the secret to your success?
I think the secret to our success, I think a lot of people, pretty much everybody sees what we're talking about today. The billboards, the advertising, the radio, the guerrilla marketing, the chatter, this wonderful thing that you've invited me to today.
Right.
But the secret to our success, all that does is that will allow the phone to ring.
Yeah.
Well, that's just 5% of what we do here. It's the infrastructure that I have built behind the phone ring.
Right.
The 85 lawyers that we have, the 300 staff members, leadership, in executing and delivering for our clients. The way I track my company is return clients also.
Right.
And so it's one thing, if a client calls you off marketing, but if you never hear from them again. So when they come back to us, which they keep coming back to us over and over and over, and they, when we look at our numbers and they say that my brother referred me, my sister referred me, my cousin referred me, that means we have been doing a very good job for the people that we service.
I know you you speak a great deal. You've built an incredible business. You speak at my friend Mike Papantonio puts on a mass tour at Made Perfect, which is a learning opportunity, kind of seminars for attorneys all over the nation, if not globally. I know you speak there quite a bit. So I bet you get cornered by young attorneys and these young bucks who have just a whole lot of drive. What advice do you give young attorneys just starting out today?
Well, I just make them aware of the market conditions that they're in, and I really try to mentor them. I give them my phone number, and some of the best advice I can tell them is that, I always say this, they say there's a thin line between love and hate. There's actually a thinner line between success and failure.
Right.
And so what you've got to do is you've got to really hone in on your business. You've got to make some decisions. And, of course, I encourage them to do something, David. You just can't print some business cards and sit in your office all day.
Right.
You've got to get out. You've got to get in the community. You might want to do some guerrilla marketing, and start with some type of advertisement. If it's a little radio spots, if it's a little maybe one billboard in your local neighborhood, if it's just doing some overnight TV ads. But you've got to do everything in your power every day to continuously move your name forward and make your name synonymous with what you do.
Right.
If it's bankruptcy, if it's divorce lawyer, you want people to think, and I say this all the time, pest services. My guy's called Tony the Bug Man.
Right.
I don't know Tony's last name.
Right.
I just know Tony's my bug man.
Right.
Pete's the plumber.
Yeah.
And you want to build your name, John the lawyer, etc. You want it because people have a very small memory, and there's a lot crammed in.
Right.
And they just want to remember you with one little iota or one little thing. And that's just kind of how you do it.
Yeah. What is your family? I know you have a beautiful family, 3 incredible, beautiful young daughters. What do they think of all the billboards and all? They find it humorous, or are they over it?
Oh, they're way over it.
Are they? Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, and I'll sum it up like this. We actually took our family vacation about 2 weeks ago. We went to Orlando. Of course, that's where I have 3 beautiful daughters, 8, 10, and 11.
Right.
They love theme parks. And we were coming home after a long day, and we were right on I-4, and you could see all the Ferris wheels, and you could see everything. And my daughter, Alexandra, my oldest, she goes, "Dad, look how beautiful Orlando is. Everywhere you look, it's lights and it's Ferris wheels and it's hotels. The only thing we have in Birmingham is your billboards." "No offense, Dad." I said, "None taken."
Yeah. They're over it. Yeah.
That sums it up.
I guess they help keep you humble. I guess that family
it was really
does.
good.
Huh?
Like, "No offense, Dad."
Yeah. Just your billboards.
I said, "I fell in comparison to those Ferris wheels."
That's awesome. So where do you see this going? You got big. You're a pretty big deal as is. You've done incredibly well. I mean, where are you headed?
I know one thing. We're gonna keep moving forward.
Right.
I don't know where we're headed. I hate to quote other people all the time, but Ray Kroc, the famous McDonald's owner, back one day in 1975, they asked him, what will they be selling in the year 2000? And Ray Kroc's response was, "I don't know what they'll be selling in the year 2000, but the one thing I do know is McDonald's will be selling the most of it."
Wow.
And that's just kind of how I see our law firm. I don't know where the legal profession is headed. Of course, I'll study it, marketing and advertising, but you can rest assured that Alexander Shunnarah's law firm will be in the mix somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Congratulations on the success.
Thank you so much.
Keep it up.
I will.
Alexander Shunnarah. Shunnarah.com, I believe, is your website.
Shunnarah.com.
Yeah, it's hopefully you've learned a little something from this. Alex is an incredible success as an entrepreneur and an attorney, just the kind of guy we love having here on the podcast to be a part of what we're doing, maybe even to see some of those past episodes. Go to blueprintpod.com. Also a growing community on Facebook, Blueprint Pod there. Thanks so much for the time, and we'll see you next time right here on the podcast.
The Blueprint Podcast with David Lamb. Ted Putman, executive producer. Robbie Lamb, web guru. The Blueprint Podcast. Copyright 2017 DLM.